The world is not fair. The sooner you accept this harsh reality, the sooner you'll stop living as its victim. Right now, as you watch this, someone less intelligent commands more respect. Someone weaker holds more influence. Someone less skilled is living the life you want, not because they're better, but because they understand the hidden psychology of human behavior. You've been trained to follow rules that others abandoned long ago, conditioned to be agreeable, while others act strategically, taught to wait for respect, while others simply take it. The game is stacked, but not in the way you think. It's stacked against those who refuse to learn the real rules, against those who cling to the illusion of fairness, against those who believe good intentions outweigh psychological leverage. 5 centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli decoded the mechanics of power and influence. He explained why good men finish last while ruthless strategists dominate. Today, I'll share 8 psychological principles that can transform you from overlooked to dangerously confident, untouchable, and impossible to ignore. But a warning: once you recognize these truths, you can't unsee them. Once you understand, you'll never again be able to hide behind victimhood. Here's how I learned this lesson. I was once the person with all the answers who nobody listened to. Intelligent, hardworking, sincere, yet invisible. I watched incompetent but confident people get promoted. Manipulators built empires while honest workers struggled. Charismatic sociopaths gathered followers while decent people sat alone. Then the truth hit me. The world doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards influence. It doesn't respect good hearts. It respects strong presence. It doesn't value character. It values psychological dominance. That realization shattered my illusions, but it freed me from frustration and invisibility. Machiavelli, living in Renaissance Italy amid betrayal and political games, observed one enduring principle: those who understand human psychology control those who don't. His lessons are not dusty history. They're operating manuals for anyone ready to stop being manipulated and start becoming magnetic. Being ruthless doesn't mean cruel. It means being psychologically aware. While you play checkers with good intentions, others are playing chess with calculated moves. Before we continue, I want you to make a declaration in the comments. I refuse to be psychologically dominated by others. This isn't just a statement. It's the first step towards psychological independence. Everything I'm about to teach requires one shift: moving from a victim mindset to a predator mindset. Are you ready to become dangerously confident? Let's begin. Number 1, fairness is a psychological trap. Here's the brutal truth. Fairness is a myth designed to keep you compliant. Every time you wait for fair treatment, someone else takes what you want. Every time you follow imaginary rules, others rewrite the game in their favor. Every time you expect reciprocity, manipulators exploit your predictability. You've been taught to believe fairness makes you noble. In reality, it makes you prey. Think about it. How often have you given respect to someone who gave you none, helped someone who never helped back, waited your turn while others cut ahead? This isn't bad luck, it's programming. Machiavelli observed, men should be treated generously or destroyed, because slight injuries invite revenge, while severe ones cannot be avenged. This isn't about violence, it's psychological warfare. Small resistance creates lasting enemies. Total psychological dominance forces acceptance. Most people make half-hearted moves. Weak pushback against strong personalities, soft boundaries with aggressive people, reasoning with the purely self-interested. This is the worst outcome. You look weak and create enemies who see you as an easy target. True psychological dominance means you don't argue when disrespected. You act in a way that makes disrespect costly. You don't plead for better treatment. You structure situations so respecting you benefits them and disrespecting you carries consequences. Stop being fair with the unfair. Start being strategic with those who only recognize power. Number 2, ruthlessness is emotional discipline. Most think ruthless means reckless anger. That's wrong. True ruthlessness is emotional control. Ruthless people don't lash out. They calculate. They don't react emotionally. They respond strategically. They don't decide from wounded pride. They act from logic and self-interest. This is why emotional people rarely build influence. They're predictable, easily manipulated, and give away power every time they lose composure. Psychologically dominant people know emotions are signals, not commands. They feel anger or frustration, but they don't let it dictate their behavior. Example: someone embarrasses you publicly. The reactive person defends themselves, argues, explains, appearing weak, while validating the attacker. The disciplined person evaluates what response damages this person's credibility while elevating mine. Maybe they ignore it, showing indifference. Maybe they deliver a cold, factual correction that makes the attacker look foolish. Maybe they display composure that highlights superiority. The key is choice, not impulse. Machiavelli wrote, "Injuries should be inflicted all at once, so their sting is brief and less offensive. When you must respond, make it decisive and final. Don't drag out conflict. Don't get pulled into drama. Make one calculated move that ends it in your favor." Think about the most powerful people you know. Do they lose their temper, argue publicly, allow others to control their emotions? No, they maintain sovereignty. They choose battles and respond with strategy, not feelings. That discipline becomes their power. When others realize they can't provoke you, they treat you with caution and respect. Master your emotions. Let others react. You respond strategically. Number 3, psychological dominance outweighs likability. This will shatter your people-pleasing instinct. Being respected is worth far more than being liked. When people only like you, they take risks with your feelings, assuming you'll forgive. When people respect your strength, they hesitate to cross you because they know consequences will follow. Likeable people are safe, predictable, and exploitable. Psychologically dominant people are dangerous, and that unpredictability earns them true influence. They are treated with caution because everyone knows they can and will protect their interests. Think about your own circles. Who commands the most respect? The friendliest person or the one with the strongest presence? Who do people consult before deciding something important? The person who agrees with everyone or the one whose approval carries real weight? Machiavelli put it plainly: it is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. This does not mean being a tyrant. It means being someone others know they cannot disregard without facing consequences. It means being known as fair, but also formidable. Here's how this works in practice. Likeable people say yes to requests they don't want to fulfill because they fear disappointing others. Dominant people say no without guilt because they prioritize their own interests. Likeable people accept disrespect and hope it stops. Dominant people address it directly and decisively. Likeable people seek inclusion everywhere. Dominant people are selective about where they invest their presence. Likeable people justify their choices. Dominant people decide and expect others to adapt. This shift from seeking likability to establishing dominance is transformative. Instead of asking, "Will they like me if I do this?" you start asking, "Will this strengthen or weaken my social position?" Instead of trying to keep everyone comfortable, you accept their discomfort when it serves your goals. Instead of seeking approval, you become the person whose approval matters most. This is not about arrogance. It is about ensuring your respect must be earned rather than given freely to those who don't value it. Build dominance by consistently upholding your standards and boundaries. Let others seek your approval instead of chasing theirs. Number 4, decisive action builds psychological superiority. This is where most people destroy their influence. They act weakly, repeatedly, instead of strongly on rare occasions. Weak people constantly threaten consequences they never enforce. They give endless warnings that train others to ignore them. They try to control through nagging, pleading, or emotional manipulation. The result, a reputation for being all talk and no action. Psychologically dominant people act differently. They issue fewer warnings, but when they act, their moves are decisive and remembered. Machiavelli advised, if harm must be done, it should be so severe that retaliation is not a concern. Translated psychologically, this means when you must demonstrate power, do it so clearly that people learn not to test you again. Example, someone in your group repeatedly disrespects you, interrupting, dismissing, mocking. The weak response is to ask them to stop, get frustrated, or complain behind their back. This only confirms their dominance, since they can trigger you without cost. The dominant response is measured but final. You track the behavior, then act once and with force. Maybe you call them out in public, making them lose credibility. Maybe you exclude them from something they value. Maybe you shift the group dynamic against their behavior. The key is that your response is stronger than any one insult, but proportionate to the ongoing pattern. That creates impact. Others see that disrespecting you carries real costs. They also see you are not someone who bluffs. You act with substance. This principle applies everywhere. Instead of constantly convincing others of your worth, you demonstrate it so powerfully on rare occasions that it leaves no doubt. Instead of always being available, you make your absence noticeable, reminding people they need you more than you need them. Instead of endlessly debating your stance, you take actions that prove it. Make fewer threats, but when you act, follow through completely. Build a reputation for decisive action, not empty warnings. Number 5, perception management is reality control. This is one of the most sophisticated forms of influence. Understanding that how people see you often matters more than the truth of who you are. Many focus only on being good, assuming others will naturally recognize their value. This is naive. Human psychology doesn't work that way. Most people don't have time to study your character deeply. They form snap judgments based on signals and social proof. If you don't manage how you are seen, someone else will shape it for you, and not in your favor. Machiavelli understood this. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few know what you truly are. For most people you meet, your image is your reality. Your reputation is your power. Your perceived value is your actual value in their minds. Those who understand psychology craft their image deliberately. They control the story about who they are before others write it for them. This isn't about faking. It's about presenting your genuine qualities strategically. Think about social media. 2 people achieve the same result. One documents it effectively, showcasing competence and success. The other assumes the work speaks for itself, who receives more recognition and opportunities, the one who manages perception. The same principle applies in person. Body language, tone of voice, clothing, and confidence communicate your value before you say a word. Walk into a room with upright posture, steady eye contact, and authority in your voice, and people unconsciously label you as significant. Slouch, avoid eye contact, and speak hesitantly, and they dismiss you without realizing it. The principle is simple. People treat you according to how you teach them to see you. Manage this deliberately. Share stories that highlight success, not failures. Align yourself with people and activities of high value. Maintain some mystery so others project positive assumptions. Project confidence even when you feel uncertain, because confidence attracts, while doubt repels. Your reputation is your most valuable asset. Protect it, shape it, and use it wisely. Number 6. Narrative control is psychological warfare. This is the highest level of influence, controlling not just what happens, but how events are interpreted and remembered. Every action can be framed in multiple ways. The same behavior can be seen as leadership or arrogance, confidence or selfishness, strength or aggression. The one who frames the story defines its meaning. Most people focus only on their actions and neglect the story around them. That is a costly mistake. In psychology, the story often matters more than the facts. Consider any conflict you've witnessed. The person who explains their version first and most convincingly usually wins public opinion, regardless of the actual truth. Machiavelli noted, "People judge more from appearances than from reality. They don't investigate deeply. They rely on the narrative they hear. Whoever frames that narrative controls belief." This means you must become skilled at framing your actions to serve your interests. When you succeed, you shape the story of your success. When you fail, you shape the lesson others see. When attacked, you shape the counter-narrative. Here's how narrative control works in practice. Make a difficult decision that may upset others. Frame it as a matter of principle and long-term benefit, not self-interest. When someone tries to discredit you, don't just defend. Reframe their attack as evidence of their insecurity or envy. When you achieve something, tell the story in a way that highlights your strategy and discipline, not just luck. Example, you cut ties with a toxic friend. They spread the story that you abandoned them in need. If you let their narrative stand, you appear heartless. But if you frame it yourself, "I had to set boundaries with someone who was damaging my mental health and ignoring basic respect," others see you as someone who values themselves appropriately. The same action, completely different perception. Advanced narrative control means anticipating how your actions will be perceived and framing them before negative interpretations spread. Always consider not just what you're doing, but how it will be discussed. Shape the story before others shape it for you. Number 7. Systematic consequences create psychological authority. The highest form of influence doesn't rely on emotions, threats, or manipulation. It's built on predictable systems where certain behaviors always lead to certain outcomes. This is psychological mastery because it removes your personality from the equation. People can argue with opinions, but not with systems. They can exploit emotional reactions, but they cannot easily exploit automatic consequences. If your authority depends on anger or threats, others can push your buttons and bargain with your reactions. But when respect brings access and disrespect brings exclusion, you maintain complete control. Machiavelli wrote that a wise ruler should depend on what is in his control, not on what belongs to others. Here's how systematic authority looks in practice. Instead of arguing with people who waste your time, you simply become unavailable when they need you. Instead of getting angry at those who misuse your generosity, you quietly shift your help to those who value it. Instead of asking people to treat you better, you set up situations where treating you well benefits them and treating you poorly costs them. Example, you have friends who expect you to plan gatherings, but they often cancel or arrive late. The reactive approach is to complain or guilt them. The systematic approach is simple. I plan for people who confirm and show up on time. If someone repeatedly cancels or is late, you stop including them. No threats, no lectures, just a natural consequence. Those who respect your effort get more of it. Those who waste it get less. This creates psychological authority because people adjust their behavior to maintain access. They can't argue with the system because it is logical, not emotional. The real advantage of this method is that it maintains itself. You don't need to constantly remind people of boundaries. The system enforces them naturally. Build structures where others' behavior automatically shapes their access to your value. Let consequences teach them how to treat you. Number 8. Silent dominance is ultimate power. The final and most important principle is this: true psychological dominance operates in silence. People who constantly brag about how strong, clever, or ruthless they are usually aren't. They're projecting what they wish they had, instead of demonstrating real control. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. Real influence works quietly. Real dominance is felt, not spoken. The most dangerous person in a room is often the quiet observer, not the loud performer. They are watching while others seek attention. They are calculating while others are reacting. They are positioning while others are posturing. Think about the most influential people you've met. Do they constantly remind others of their strength? Do they boast about their status? Do they threaten those who cross them? Rarely. Their power is assumed, not declared. Their influence shows through results, not words. Their dominance is recognized through presence, not performance. Machiavelli captured this well. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. This means being both strategically intelligent and forceful when required, while switching between these roles without exposing your intentions. In practice, this means opponents don't see your moves until it's too late to counter. Allies don't realize how you positioned them until they benefit. Enemies don't notice you undermining them until their influence collapses. Silent dominance looks like this. You build influence without announcing ambitions. You position yourself without revealing your plan. You gather information while sharing little about yourself. You form alliances quietly while competitors remain unaware. You weaken opponents without them knowing where the pressure comes from. This isn't about deception. It's about recognizing that discretion is stronger than constant transparency. When you operate with silent dominance, people feel your influence without knowing how it was built. This makes your power appear natural and inevitable, rather than forced or aggressive. Build your psychological empire quietly. Let others make noise while you make moves. Show your power through outcomes, not announcements. Here's the ultimate truth. If you don't master the psychology of influence, someone who has will master you. This isn't theory, it's happening around you every day. Right now, as you learn these principles, others are applying them to control people who remain unaware. Manipulators take advantage of those who cling to fairness. Psychologically dominant people rise above those who believe good intentions matter more than strategic awareness. The choice is harsh, but clear. Either become someone who understands and applies psychological influence, or remain someone who gets influenced and used. You've been conditioned to think learning these principles is wrong. That belief keeps you easy to control. Those who understand psychology want you to stay naive, predictable, and exploitable while they operate with insight. Every day you delay using these lessons, someone more strategic is building the influence and respect you want. Every day you choose nice over formidable, you hand power to those who see kindness as weakness. The world doesn't need more well-meaning people who finish last. It needs people who see reality clearly and use that understanding to build lives of influence and confidence. If these lessons have awakened something in you, if you're tired of being dominated, then prove it. Like this video to show you're done with naivety. Share it with someone who needs to understand that kindness without strength is weakness. Subscribe, because this is just the start of your transformation, from overlooked to unforgettable. And remember what you declared in the comments: I refuse to be psychologically dominated by others. Now stop refusing and start taking control. The decision is yours. But act quickly, because while you're hesitating, others are already deciding what to do with you.